Ladies and gentlemen, this is the pilot speaking. The co-pilot and I are currently not talking to one another. If someone would be so kind as to tell him to deploy his bloody flaps, we might be able to land safely. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the co-pilot speaking. If somebody would be so kind as to tell the pilot, maybe I would deploy my flaps if he'd stop drinking all my coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, I assure you I wouldn't have to drink the co-pilot's coffee if he'd bother to talk to the control tower. If you'd stop tilting the plane, then I could talk to the control tower. Well, my control of the plane didn't give you any trouble talking to my wife last night, did it? Maybe if you paid a little more attention to her flaps, I wouldn't have to.
I'm just going to call my family and tell them that I love them. Sky Team, Prepare for Landing, is a cooperative two-player game in which pilot and co-pilot attempt to land a plane. A task that would likely be manageable were it not for the fact that the two of you are forbade from talking to one another. Are we clear for landing? This is important information I need to know. Right. At the start of each round, each player will roll 4 dice, secretly into their shields. The dice are standard D6s, aside from, at least in my copy, this one, which is slightly different to all the others, which I'm sure you find just as annoying as I do. Maybe it's a 9, I don't know. One by one, the players will then assign their dice into various slots on this here control panel to do various control-y, planey aviation things. Obviously, you can only work with the numbers you've got, so you can't always do the things that need doing. Can you deploy the wing flaps, please? I'll give it my best shot. Didn't get the right numbers. I'm going to have to press this button instead. No, 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 no! So how does one land a plane? Very easily. Gravity will take care of it. How does one land a plane safely without anybody getting hurt? That's a bit trickier. First, we're going to need to make sure that the plane is level. Each player will place a die in the axis slots. The plane will then veer towards the higher die, the difference of the two values. Should the plane ever tilt too much, uh-oh, that's a plane go boom. At the point of landing, the plane must be perfectly level. Nothing else will suffice. And that's the plane perfectly level there. We do also have to be the right way up! Along with the tilt of the plane, every round we'll need to think about our engine speed. These two tracks represent our current position in relation to the airport. This one is our altitude. This is going to progress at a steady rate, and much like the march of time, there's nothing we can do about it. It's coming for us all, whether we like it or not. What goes up must come down. Accept my interest in board games! I like board games. This one is the distance, and this one we have a modicum of control over. 2 dice will be placed in these slots. The combined value will be our engine speed, and affected by how much landing gear we've got down, we will either move 0 spaces, 1 space, or 2 spaces. We're coming in a little fast. Let's move 0 spaces forward. Where did you say you learnt to fly? In a helicopter. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that this track is covered in little airplanes. Pesky little airplanes that have the audacity to be in our airspace. If we ever crash into one of those, that's a bad. That's a plane go boom. We can use these slots here to have a good old natter with the control tower and get these pesky planes out of our airspace. So that's going to need doing. The pilot uses these slots to lower the landing gear. So that's going to need doing. Otherwise that's a bad, that's a plane go boom. The co-pilot uses these slots to deploy the wing flaps. So that's going to need doing. Otherwise that's a bad, that's a plane go boom. For some reason it was much trickier maintaining landing speed without stalling than it should have been. Oh no! The wing flaps haven't been deployed! The pilot uses these slots to get the brakes on. That's going to need to be at least partially done, otherwise that's a plane go boom. There's someone on the runway! Get out the way! We don't have any brakes! So we need to level the plane, go at the right speed, not overshoot the airport, definitely don't crash into any other planes, get the landing gear down, get the wing flaps deployed, and get the brakes on. How are we going to do all that just rolling dice when we can't even talk to one another? Chill. Relax. Hit the subscribe button. Either player can use one of these slots to brew a coffee, and coffee can be used to concentrate, allowing you to alter your die rolls by 1 in either direction. That's right, with a bit of caffeine-induced concentration luck mitigation, we'll get this sucker on the ground in no time.
Concentration activated. Landing gear down. Flaps deployed. Airspace clear. Aircraft level. Speed optimal. Brakes engaged. Success.
The passengers burst into applause. You have landed smoothly and you have won. You've done it. You've mastered the art of landing an airplane. Wasn't that fun? This is a board game. It's not supposed to be fun. You've only landed at Montreal. That's like the beginner #1 rookie airport for babies. Even I can land an airplane at Montreal, and I'm an idiot. Watch! It's time to break out the flight log and discover that there's a whole world of airports out there, ranging from routine landings to heroic landings that will put you in the history books. I want to be in the history books. Don't you want to be in the history books? Things are about to get a lot more dicey. See what I did there? Dicey. You know, this is considered the most dangerous airport in the world. There are lives at stake here. Do you think maybe we should start talking to one another? Coward. The more advanced airports add additional challenges. Should you find one of these black cubes in your current position, you'll need to roll the black die and add some extra airplanes into the airspace. Uh-oh! Should you see one of these things, you'll need to bank the plane to specific positions to avoid obstacles, otherwise that's a plane go boom. And the new airports all feature new modules for the plane. That's right, planes are made up of different interchangeable modules, and sometimes they take off and they don't even use all of them. The plane modules layer and enrich the gameplay with extra stuff to think about. You might suddenly have to worry about fuel or wind resistance. You may be working with the tricky ice brakes. You might have a 60-second time limit for maximum panic. You might have the intern module, where you'll have some young upstart helping you out. But if you don't complete their training by the time you land, that's a plane go boom for some reason. Whilst the more advanced flights offer a plethora of new challenges, they do offer something of a lifeline with special ability cards. You'll get 1 or 2 of these cards, which will give you and your partner some special abilities. So the reason we've been so successful as a piloting duo is we use the power of anticipation and adaptation. How about you guys? We just talk to each other, you freaks. I didn't think I was going to like SkyTeam Prepare for Landing as much as I do, but it really is a solid game. The theme of landing a plane works fantastically to create a genuine sense of tension as you're placing your dice, hoping that your partner can not only interpret what you're doing, but has the dice to complement it. That little plastic plane in the middle of the control panel does so much to sell the idea that you're sat in a cockpit and your actions are affecting this real-world vehicle. Things are usually fine, but there's always this underlying tension that things could go wrong very quickly, and they often do, so maybe let's just get a few coffees on just in case. SkyTeam Prepare for Landing does an excellent job of being an entry-level game, simple enough that anybody can play, but with enough nuance in the decision making that even seasoned gamers should get a lot out of this. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a plane to catch.